1. I'm sitting at the dining table when it happens. The exact moment I realize I've become invisible in my own home. My son leans forward, elbows on the table, speaking like I'm not even there. "We should really start thinking about what happens to the house," he says, tapping his glass. "It's too big for her anyway." My daughter nods, scrolling through something on her phone. "And the accounts," she adds casually. "We need to simplify everything before it gets messy later." Later. They're talking about my life like it's already over. I clear my throat. I'm still. "Mom, please," my son cuts in, not even looking at me. "You wouldn't understand these things." The words land quietly, but they cut deeper than shouting ever could. I look around the table. No one meets my eyes. Not one person pauses. Not one person notices. So I stop speaking. I fold my hands neatly in my lap and let them continue planning my future. Without me. And in that silence, something inside me settles. If they think I have nothing, if they think I don't understand, then maybe it's time I let them believe it. For now. Chapter 2. The Silence I Chose. That night, the house feels larger than it ever has. Not physically, emotionally. I sit alone in the living room, the echo of their voices replaying in my mind. You wouldn't understand. What happens to the house? It wasn't just what they said. It was how easily they said it. Like I had already faded. Like I had already been filed away as irrelevant. I look around the room. The same room I built, piece by piece, over decades. Every chair, every painting, every quiet decision that made this place what it is. And yet, none of that mattered to them. Because they never asked. They never looked closely enough. For years, I filled in the gaps for them. Paid what needed to be paid. Fixed what needed fixing. Made everything smooth, seamless, invisible. Just like me. I let out a slow breath and lean back. No anger. No tears. Just clarity. I've spent too long explaining myself to people who weren't listening. So I make a decision. I won't correct them. I won't defend myself. I won't prove anything. If they want me invisible, then I'll disappear. But this time, it will be on my terms. Chapter 3. The Life They Never Asked About. There was a time when they used to ask questions. Small ones. Curious ones. How did you fix that? How do bills get paid? How do you always know what to do? But that stopped years ago. Somewhere along the way, curiosity turned into assumption. And assumption turned into dismissal. After their father passed, everything could have fallen apart. It almost did. The silence in the house was heavy, the responsibilities even heavier. But I didn't collapse. I built. Quietly. While they moved on with their lives, careers, relationships, social circles, I stayed behind and learned everything I needed to survive. Then to grow. Then to expand. I took risks they never saw. Made decisions they never questioned. Built streams of income they never knew existed. Not once did they ask, "How are you managing all this?" Not once. To them, stability just existed. Like air. Like background noise. Like me. I smile faintly at the thought. They think I've been sitting still all these years. They have no idea how far I've moved. And how much I've built. Without ever needing them to notice. Chapter 4. The First Test. The call comes the next afternoon. I already know what it's about before I answer. "Hi, Mom," my daughter says, her voice unusually soft. Too soft. I wait. There's a pause, then a sigh. I need a little help. Just temporarily. Of course. I lean back in my chair, staring out the window. How much? I ask calmly. She names a number. Not small. Not outrageous. Just expected. The kind of number you ask when you assume the answer will always be yes. For years, it always has been. I let the silence stretch just long enough for her to feel it. Then I say, "I can't help this time." There's a shift. Immediate. Sharp. "What do you mean?" she asks, her tone tightening. "It's not even that much." I said I can't. Another pause. Longer this time. Then irritation seeps in. You've never had a problem before. I close my eyes briefly. That was before. The line goes quiet. Not disconnected, just cold. Okay, she says finally. I'll figure something out. She hangs up. No goodbye. I lower the phone slowly, feeling the shift settle into place. That was the first time I said no. And something tells me they're not going to like what comes next. Chapter 5. The narrative turns against me. It starts subtly. A message in the family group chat. Has anyone noticed Mom's been acting different? Then another. She refused to help earlier. Just out of nowhere. I read everything. I respond to nothing. The messages pile up. Concern turns into speculation. Speculation turns into judgment. Maybe she's struggling and won't admit it. Or she's just being difficult. After everything we've done. That one makes me pause. Everything they've done? I scroll back, rereading it. Interesting. Very interesting. By evening, the tone has fully shifted. They're no longer confused. They've decided. I'm the problem. I set my phone down and fold my hands calmly. For years, they didn't notice me at all. Now suddenly, I'm the center of attention. But not for who I am. For who they think I've become. I could correct them. Clarify everything. End the misunderstanding in seconds. Instead, I let it continue. Because the truth is, this isn't a misunderstanding. It's a reflection. And for the first time, they're about to see exactly what they created. 6. 3 days later, my son shows up unannounced. He doesn't come alone. A man in a tailored coat stands beside him, holding a sleek black folder, eyes already scanning the walls, the floors, the space. Mom, my son says, stepping inside without waiting. This is Victor. He's just here to take a look. Take a look. I nod politely, closing the door behind them. Victor walks slowly through the living room, measuring with his eyes. Beautiful structure, he murmurs. Great resale potential. Resale. I say nothing. My son gestures toward the staircase. It's too much for her now, he explains casually. We're just planning ahead. Planning ahead. Like I'm already gone. I fold my hands, watching them move through my home like it belongs to them. Room by room. Decision by decision. Not once does he ask me what I want. Not once. When they finish, Victor smiles. With the right timing, this could move quickly. My son nods, satisfied. Then he turns to me. We'll handle everything. I meet his eyes calmly. And for the first time, I let the silence answer for me. Chapter 7. The paper they didn't read. The documents arrive the next morning. Neatly arranged. Professionally prepared. Already flagged for my signature. My daughter sits across from me, tapping her pen lightly against the table. It's just to make things easier, she says. Nothing complicated. Nothing complicated. I pick up the first page. The language is clean, but deliberate. Transfer clauses. Authorization shifts. Asset control. Subtle, but not invisible. I flip to the final page, where a blank line waits for my name. They're watching me closely now. Expecting the same pattern. The same compliance. The same quiet agreement. I set the paper down. I'll need time to review this, I say calmly. My daughter frowns. There's nothing to review. It's standard. I'll still review it. Her jaw tightens slightly. My son exhales sharply. Mom, you're overcomplicating this. I look at him, really look at him. No, I say quietly. I'm not. The room goes still. I slide the documents back across the table. Unsigned. Untouched. For the first time, uncertainty flickers across their faces. And I realize something important. They're starting to notice. I'm not as predictable as they thought. Chapter 8. The one who noticed. That afternoon, I receive a call. Everything all right? A calm voice asks. It's Alistair. He's been overseeing my financial structures for years. Quietly, efficiently, without unnecessary questions. I've received some unusual inquiries, he continues. About your holdings. I walk toward the window, watching the street below. My children, I say simply. A brief pause. I assumed as much, he replies. They're planning, I add. Without understanding what they're planning for. Alistair exhales softly. That can become complicated. I know. There's a shift in his tone now, more focused. Do you want me to restrict access further? I consider it. Then shake my head, even though he can't see me. No, I say. Let them look. Another pause. You're certain? Yes. Because there's something they need to learn. Something they won't understand unless they see it for themselves. Very well, he says. But I recommend we prepare. Just in case. I smile faintly. We already have. When the call ends, I set my phone down carefully. They think they're getting closer. But in reality, they've only just stepped into a world they don't understand. Chapter 9. The Hidden Structure. That evening, I sit in my study with the files open in front of me. Layer after layer. Structures within structures. Nothing about what I own is simple. And that was intentional. Years ago, I learned that visibility creates vulnerability. So I built everything to exist. Quietly. Separate entities. Independent holdings. Controlled access. Nothing tied together in a way that could be easily traced. Or easily taken. To anyone looking from the outside, it appears modest. Manageable. Ordinary. But underneath, it's anything but. I run my fingers lightly over the documents. Trust frameworks. Authorization hierarchies. Fail-safes. Every detail designed for one purpose. Control. Mine. Not theirs. Not anyone else's. I close the final folder and lean back in my chair. They walked through this house thinking it was the center of everything. They have no idea. This is just one piece. A small one. And if they think they can map out my life from what they see on the surface, they're about to be very surprised. Chapter 10. The Birthday They Forgot. My birthday arrives quietly. No calls. No messages. No knock at the door. I wake up, make my coffee, and sit by the window like any other day. At noon, my phone lights up. Not with a greeting. With a notification. A photo. They're all there. My children, gathered around a long table, glasses raised, smiling. A caption beneath it. Celebrating big things. Big things. I study the image for a moment. No mention of me. No acknowledgement. Just absence. I set the phone down gently. No anger. No disappointment. Just confirmation. I walk into my study and open a drawer. Inside, a single document waits. Prepared. Finalized. All it needs is my signature. I pick up the pen. Pause for a moment. Then sign. Carefully. Deliberately. When I'm done, I close the folder and return it to its place. They forgot my birthday. But what they don't know is, this was the day everything changed. 11. The shift begins quietly, but it's unmistakable. My son starts visiting more often. Not out of concern, but observation. He walks through the house slower now, eyes lingering on details he used to ignore. The furniture. The fixtures. The layout. Have you thought about downsizing? He asks casually one afternoon, leaning against the doorway like he already belongs there. I look up from my book. No. He nods, but I can see it. He's not really listening. My daughter calls more frequently too, her tone sharper, more probing. Are you keeping track of your expenses properly? She asks. Things can slip if you're not careful. Slip. Interesting choice of word. They're not asking questions anymore. They're assessing. Evaluating. Positioning. I watch it unfold without interrupting. Because now I understand their strategy. If they can convince themselves I'm losing control, then stepping in becomes justified, necessary, even noble. But what they don't realize is, I've never had more control than I do right now. And the more they push this illusion, the closer they get to exposing just how wrong they are. Chapter 12, The Medical Angle. It's my daughter who brings it up. Carefully, strategically. We're sitting in the kitchen when she places her cup down and sighs. I've been thinking, she begins. Maybe it's time to consider some extra support. I glance at her. Support. You know, she continues, avoiding my eyes, just making sure everything is being managed properly. Health, finances, day-to-day things. I let the silence stretch. Then she adds it. The real intention. There are really nice assisted living options. Nothing extreme. Just structured. Structured. Controlled. Contained. I nod slowly, as if considering it. I see. Relief flickers across her face, too quickly. She thinks I'm agreeing. That I'm softening. That I'm exactly what she needs me to be. I can look into places, she says quickly. Just to explore. I smile faintly. That won't be necessary. Her expression freezes. And in that moment, I see it clearly. This was never about care. It was about access. And now that I've refused, they're going to escalate. Chapter 13, The Quiet Transfer. I don't wait for their next move. I make mine first. 2 days later, I sit across from Alistair again, this time in person. Everything is already prepared. Documents laid out. Structures finalized. Authority paths clearly defined. All primary decision rights will transfer here, he explains, sliding a page toward me. From this point forward, no external request will bypass these controls. Exactly as planned. I read every line carefully. Not because I doubt it, but because I understand what this moment means. Once I sign this, everything changes. Not visibly, not immediately, but fundamentally. I pick up the pen. No hesitation this time. My signature settles into place, clean, deliberate, final. Alistair nods once. It's done. I close the folder calmly. No announcement. No warning. No indication to anyone else. But from this moment on, nothing moves without me. Nothing shifts without my approval. And most importantly, nothing can be taken. As I stand to leave, a quiet realization settles in. They think they're getting closer to control. But in truth, they just lost it completely. And they don't even know it yet. Chapter 14, The Public Embarrassment. The gathering is small, but intentional. Extended family. Familiar faces. Comfortable conversation. And then, inevitably, the jokes begin. My son leans back in his chair, swirling his drink with a smirk. Mom's been living quietly, he says. Sitting on her little savings, not doing much these days. A few people laugh. Not maliciously, but enough. My daughter adds lightly, she likes to keep things simple. Simple. I feel the eyes shift toward me. Waiting. Expecting a reaction. A correction. Something. But I don't give them anything. I simply smile. And sip my drink. Let them continue. Let them believe it. Because what they don't realize is, every word they're saying, every assumption they're reinforcing, is building towards something they won't be able to take back. The laughter fades. The conversation moves on. But I notice something new. A few curious glances. A few subtle hesitations. Not everyone is convinced. And that's all it takes. Because once doubt enters the room, it doesn't leave easily. Chapter 15, The Financial Shock. The call comes late in the evening. This time, there's no softness. No careful tone. Just urgency. I need help, my daughter says, her voice tight. It's serious. I remain quiet. She exhales sharply. The deal fell through. I'm exposed. If I don't cover this quickly, it's going to get bad. I can hear it now. Not just stress. Fear. How much? I ask. She tells me. It's significantly more than before. This isn't casual anymore. This is critical. I can't help, I say calmly. Silence. Then disbelief. What do you mean you can't? She snaps. This isn't optional. I close my eyes briefly. I've already told you. Her breathing sharpens. You're choosing not to. No, I reply evenly. I'm not able to. The line goes cold again. But this time, it's different. There's no dismissal. No assumption. Only tension. Because for the first time, she's starting to question something she never questioned before. If I can't help, then what exactly do I have? And more importantly, what don't I? 16. It doesn't take long. After that call, something shifts. They stop asking me, and start looking for answers elsewhere. I notice it in small ways first. Unfamiliar numbers calling. Emails flagged for verification. Subtle questions from people who usually don't reach out. They've started digging. Through records. Through accounts. Through anything they think might reveal what I actually have. I sit at my desk, watching it unfold quietly. They think this is simple. That everything is visible if you just look hard enough. But what they're searching for was never placed where they could find it. Still, I let them continue. Because this part matters. They need to feel like they're getting somewhere. To follow the trail. To believe they're uncovering something real. That's how understanding begins. Later that evening, my son sends a message. We need to talk. Something isn't adding up. I read it twice. Then set my phone down without replying. Because he's right. Something isn't adding up. But what he doesn't realize is, he's not even close to the full equation. Chapter 17. The First Crack. The first Rayol crack appears 2 days later. My daughter calls again. This time, there's no arrogance. Only confusion. I found something, she says, her voice lower than usual. I don't respond immediately. I let her continue. There's a company tied to your name. Not directly, but it connects. I lean back in my chair, calm. Yes, I say simply. She pauses. You didn't mention that. You didn't ask. Silence. Then she pushes further. It's not small. The numbers, they don't match what we thought. Of course they don't. Because what they thought was never based on truth, only assumption. There are others too, she adds quietly. Different structures. I can't see everything, but... She trails off. But it's enough. The tone has changed. Completely. No more certainty. No more control. Just questions. Real ones. Mom, she says slowly, what exactly do you own? I glance at the window, watching the fading light. Then answer calmly. More than you think. And for the first time, she doesn't know how to respond. Chapter 18. The Confrontation Attempt. They don't wait this time. The next evening, both of them show up together. No notice. No pretense. Just urgency. My son steps inside first, his expression tight. We need answers. I gesture toward the living room. Then sit. They do. But not comfortably. My daughter leans forward immediately. Why didn't you tell us? I meet her gaze evenly. Tell you what? She exhales sharply. About everything. The companies. The holdings. All of it. I let a small pause settle. Then say, quietly, you never asked. The words land heavier than anything else I could have said. My son shakes his head. That's not fair. We're your children. And I'm your mother, I reply calmly. That didn't seem to matter when you were making decisions for me. Silence fills the room. Thick. Unavoidable. For the first time, neither of them interrupts me. Neither of them dismisses me. They just sit there. Listening. Trying to understand something they should have seen years ago. But it's too late for simple answers now. Because what they're facing isn't just information. Its consequence. Chapter 19. The full revelation. They come back again. This time prepared. Documents in hand. Screenshots. Notes. They lay everything out across my table like pieces of a puzzle they've been struggling to solve. We found more, my son says, his voice quieter now. Properties. Multiple. Different locations. My daughter adds, and investment accounts. Not just local. International. I nod once. They're finally seeing it. But only the surface. This doesn't make sense, she continues. None of this matches what we thought you had. Of course it doesn't. Because what they thought was never real. How long? My son asks suddenly. How long has this been like this? I look at him steadily. Long enough. He exhales slowly, running a hand through his hair. The room feels different now. Heavier. Not with control, but with realization. My daughter's voice softens. Why would you keep this from us? I hold her gaze. I didn't keep it from you, I say calmly. You just chose not to see me. Silence. Complete silence. Because now, there's nothing left to argue. Only truth. And it's far bigger than they expected. Chapter 20. The shift in behavior. The change is immediate. And obvious. Calls come first. Frequent. Consistent. Careful. Just checking in, my son says one morning. My daughter sends messages now. Polite ones. Hope you're doing well. Let me know if you need anything. Anything. I read them all. Respond to some. Not all. Because I'm watching. Observing. Measuring. The tone is different. No more assumptions. No more instructions. Now there's caution. Respect. Carefully applied. But underneath it, something else. Awareness. They know now. Not everything. But enough. Enough to understand that the balance has shifted. Completely. They invite me to dinner. Include me in conversations. Ask for my opinion. And for the first time in years, they wait for my answer. I give it. Calmly. Briefly. Without over-explaining. Because I don't need to anymore. They're finally listening. But the truth is, this isn't reconciliation. Not yet. This is adjustment. To a reality they never prepared for. And the question now is, what will they do next? Now that they know who I really am. 21. A week later, they invite me to dinner again. This time, it's quieter. More controlled. No distractions. My son clears his throat halfway through the meal. We've been thinking, he says carefully. Maybe it makes sense for us to start working together, as a family. I don't respond immediately. He continues, you've built something significant. We should protect it. Manage it properly. As a unit. A unit. My daughter nods quickly. It's not about control, she adds. It's about structure. Stability. Making sure everything is aligned. Aligned. I set my fork down gently. And what exactly would that look like? I ask. They exchange a glance. Shared oversight, my son says. Transparency. Joint decisions. There it is. Access, repackaged. I meet his eyes, calm and steady. No, I say simply. Silence. My daughter blinks. No. No, I repeat. The word lands clean. Final. For the first time, they don't push back immediately. Because now they understand something they didn't before. Access to my life is no longer automatic. Chapter 22. The final attempt to control. They don't give up right away. A few days later, I receive a formal message. Not from them directly. From a legal office. Carefully worded. Professionally framed. A request for evaluation. Concerns regarding decision-making capacity. I read it once. Then again. So this is where they've landed. If they can't access control through cooperation, they'll attempt to justify it through intervention. I close the document slowly. Then make one call. Within hours, everything is addressed. Documents reviewed. Structures confirmed. Authority validated. Untouchable. By the time they realize what's happened, it's already over. The attempt has failed. Completely. That evening, they show up again. Different this time. Not confident. Not assertive. Just uncertain. My son speaks first. We didn't think it would go this far. I look at him calmly. You already took it there, I reply. Silence settles between us. Because now, there's nothing left for them to try. Chapter 23. The Quiet Truth. I don't raise my voice. I don't accuse. I just speak. For years I begin, you didn't see me. They sit still. Listening. You spoke over me. Made decisions for me. Assumed things about me without ever asking. My daughter lowers her gaze. My son doesn't interrupt. You weren't interested in what I built, I continue. Only in what you thought you could inherit. The words are calm. But they land heavily. I didn't hide anything, I say. I simply stopped explaining myself to people who weren't listening. Silence fills the room. Not defensive. Not resistant. Just heavy. My daughter's voice is quiet when she finally speaks. We didn't realize. I nod once. I know. Because if they had, this conversation wouldn't be happening now. I stand slowly, signaling the end. This was never about money, I say. It was about being seen. And for the first time, they understand exactly what they almost lost. Chapter 24. The Redefined Relationship. Things don't go back to normal. They can't. Because normal is what broke everything in the first place. The next time they visit, it's different. They wait before speaking. They listen when I respond. They don't interrupt. It's subtle. But it's real. I'd like to help more, my daughter says carefully one afternoon. Not with anything financial. Just with you. I study her for a moment. Then nod slightly. We'll take it one step at a time. My son follows later. I know I pushed too far, he admits. I thought I was helping. I don't correct him. Because now, he's finally reflecting. I don't need you to manage anything, I tell him. I need you to respect boundaries. He nods. And this time, he means it. There are no grand apologies. No dramatic promises. Just small shifts. Consistent ones. And for the first time in years, they're not trying to lead. They're learning how to stand beside me. Chapter 25. The ending they didn't expect. The final gathering feels different from the start. Same table. Same room. But everything else has changed. My children sit across from me, not ahead of me. Not over me. With me. When I speak, they listen. Not out of obligation. But intention. There's no talk of property. No assumptions about later. Just conversation. Real conversation. At one point, my son pauses and says, "What do you think?" A simple question. But it carries weight now. Because it wasn't asked before. I answer calmly. And this time, they wait. I glance around the table, taking it all in. This isn't victory. Not in the way they expected. There was no collapse. No public humiliation. Just truth. Steady. Unavoidable. They didn't lose me because I had nothing. They almost lost me. Because they never took the time to see everything I was. And now that they finally do, they understand something far more valuable than anything I own. Respect isn't inherited. It's earned.